Yo people, welcome to Rotorua, New Zealand. I'm super lucky to be in another country on this trip. I flew from Australia to Auckland yesterday, drove down to Rotorua, and now I'm here on the side of the mountain bike slopestyle course here at Crankworx 2019. So I'm really excited. I'm going to walk you through this entire mountain bike slopestyle course, and then tomorrow practice begins. I'm going to be filming practice this week with all the riders, talk about my runs, what I want to do, and then lead up to finals on Saturday. It's going to be an amazing week. I'm so excited to be back here in Rotorua. I'm so excited to be back here in Rotorua. Look, the first feature's behind me. We'll talk about that in a second. But last year I wasn't actually in Rotorua, and the year before I was here, and on the first jump after the step down I actually shattered my wrist. I blew it into like 10-15 pieces, all the bones. It was a pretty rough week. But we're not going to talk about the broken wrist. That would be living in the past. So let's check out this course. It's insane. The first feature, like most Crankworx stops, we start with either a drop or a step down, and here it is a pretty massive step down. We're going to be up there in the start tower, which is a pretty cool place to be. You're kind of out the way of the crowd and the cameras and stuff. You get your own little rider's space. Then on Saturday we'll be dropping in, down the roll in. I think if I go and stand in the gap here, you'll be able to appreciate the size of this thing. Much bigger than any step down I've ridden in the UK. There it is. That is not a small step down. And the other insane thing about this one is how long this landing is. You start up there with no speed, and then by the time you've landed this step down and hurtled down the landing, you have got so much speed. Which brings me on to the second feature, which I think you're going to be pretty amazed at. It's over here. Oh, and this pump bump. Can we just all worship for a moment how much dirt is in one single pump bump here? There's probably more dirt, more material in that roller than there is in like the big landing at my compound. That is a lot of dirt, but that's purely because you're going so fast. Honestly, when you land that step down, you are motoring. You need a roller here because it's almost so fast you can't pedal. The single speed bikes don't give you enough. And this is the first proper feature, a dirt to dirt. And Elevate Trail Building, who build this course, Tom Hay and his crew, they always put a feature in that's got a dirt takeoff, which is quite rare. Often takeoffs are made of wood, as you'll see from most other Crankworx stops. It's always really interesting building them out of dirt because they're very different to ride. You'd never build something like that out of wood. It's actually got a cambered takeoff, so it's a bit slanted. More of a shark fin. I think if you watch the live stream this weekend, they'll probably be calling this the shark fin, but that is a humongous takeoff. So perfectly sculpted. And I think you can appreciate from this angle how big it is. I'm going to go and stand in the gap for you to see, but it's actually stepped down. So when I came here 2 years ago, this jump was actually stepped up, also slightly hipped, and it was a 720 where I broke my wrist. This is huge. And again, can you imagine how much speed you're going to generate down there? And that is a talking point in the next jump, which we'll look at shortly. But let's go and stand in the gap. Not small. Definitely not small. Not the biggest jump in the whole course, but not small. Yes. Hats off to the trail builders. This is a special start to a course. Step down, enormous roller, shark fin that's also stepped down. So on every feature, the ground level's lowering, which means gravity is accelerating you. You're going fast, which brings me on to this jump. Have a look at this step up. Whether you want to call this a moon booter, step up, Gargantuan, whatever it is, this takeoff is absolutely massive. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go and stand next to this thing because it just towers above you. I think it's 14 foot tall, which is as tall as a skateboard vert ramp. I'm going to put the camera down now and run towards this thing. Absolutely massive. Just look at the spacing of jumps here. In that gap at Woburn, my local trails, there'd probably be 4 separate jumps. And here it's just pure speed, hard packed ground. They pack in these jumps with trucks driving up and down them, so pretty effective way of making the ground hard. And that all comes together to justify a 14-foot takeoff. Still a pretty decent gap. It's huge. This step up is definitely one of the highlight trick booters of the whole line from my memory. Just so much dirt in one landing. It's massive. We've built some big stuff by hand in the past, but I'd probably go as far as to say it would be impossible to build a landing like this by hand. It's much bigger than any house I've ever lived in. It's just huge. And then, same again, packed in with a huge truck. Then that brings me on to the next feature. Another dirt takeoff, which is special. I personally am a huge fan of the dirt takeoffs. Wooden takeoffs are consistent, they don't rut, they don't change, but they're very freestyle, and dirt takeoffs are very trails and mountain bike, and it's a core thing. I grew up riding dirt takeoffs, dirt landings, everything dirt. So this ticks a lot of boxes for me. I think it's a very credible way of building jumps, and there's a lot of work and a lot of shaping time. You can't just buzz plywood on and know it's good for a year. This is graft. So again, the cool thing about a dirt takeoff, it's ever so slightly kind of hooked one way. This is, again, is a right hip, so not a perfectly flat takeoff. And just massive. Look, let's spin the camera around. So it's just a wall of dirt. It's massive. If you come off the side of this for some outrageous reason, it's going to be an explosion. Anyway, let's not think about that. So we've done step down, we've done the shark fin. That's the humongous booter. This is the really cool right hip, which is new for me. There was a boner log here last time. And now the boner log's moved down there, which we'll check out now. So one amazing thing about this course so far is, apart from the step down at the beginning, no jump is perfectly straight. Nothing lines up with perfect 90-degree angles. Everything's a little bit twisted, a little bit hooked, which I think's cool. It's like a set of trails, right? A bit different. And then same story here. A boner log that's actually a bit on the tilt, if you can see. Just look at the distance between features. Oh, here's a better angle of how this thing's going to ride. Here it is behind me. So I'm probably going to do some form of 360 variation on this. So I'm already planning ahead for my run, because in slopestyle you don't want to repeat the same thing too many times in a row. You wouldn't want to be doing a backflip tail whip into a backflip Superman, into a backflip no-hander, into another backflip tail whip. You need to add some 360s in there, some spins in different directions. So I'm thinking maybe some form of under-rotated 360 on the boner log. But don't hold me to that, I haven't ridden it yet. I've never ridden this layout. And now again, a really, really classic slopestyle feature here, huge cabin. Check this out. Obviously you take off there, land up top, ride off the end. The drop here is big, but the general scale of how high you are off the floor, especially on the far side, you can pretty much see this feature from our hotel down there by the lake. It's a massive obstacle. Really well built. Like, you could have just built this out of some 4x2 and left it at that. But check it out, I'm excited to show you what this looks like on the GoPro. It's going to be so sick. There we go. You got to do a trick on and a trick off. I'll call it now, I'll probably be doing a flat drop backflip off of this thing. Beast. I'll probably be doing a flat drop backflip off of this. And it's massive, and I haven't done a flat flip for a while. I missed doing it at my training session at my compound, so pretty excited just to go for that on a huge drop. Okay, right, we're nearing the end of the course, so if you're bored, don't worry, we're almost there. And the ending is pretty special. This is where most of the crowd gather. So let's check it out. Another dirt to dirt jump, but this time so long. This is like a dirt to dirt racer, or a long and low as they'll probably call it. And again, that takeoff is wider than most landings I've ever ridden. It's just massive. This is huge. Look, gondola passing over, it's pretty epic. We're gonna get some cool photos. Beast. I don't know about you, but that looks more at home on a motocross track than it does on a mountain bike slopestyle course. Features like this, long and low, are pretty difficult to trick. They're not your standard steep kicker, so even a backflip or a 360 is a bit of a task, but you know in 2019 we're going to see some outrageous stunts on that jump. Okay, and now the final wooden booter. This is the dream trick jump, okay? This is, if the banger tricks don't happen up top on the big 14-foot kicker, they're going to happen on this. The last Maxis takeoff. I'd say that's about an 11-foot takeoff, but I'll try and get the measurements. But pretty epic. Let's spin the camera around. Definitely bigger than my compound, but I'm going to feel pretty at home on that jump, I hope. Be cool to get some 720s done on it in practice. Actually, it's really big. Okay, I haven't stood side on. Maybe I'm going to regret saying that. And then finally, the finish berm. If I get down to that berm on Saturday, I'm going to be a happy guy, honestly. Getting to the end of a Crankworx course is a win in its own. It's difficult, there's a lot of pressure, you only get 2 runs. And there it is. That is the 2019 Crankworx Rotorua Slopestyle course, which I'm now walking back up to because I realise it's too far away. I hope you enjoyed my course walk. Tune in to the next video for some GoPro footage and a bit of action from the other riders. It's going to be legendary. Thank you for watching today's video. I'll see you in the next one. We're at Crankworx. It's going to be a sick week. Keep tuned in, legends.